ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Distorted Reality. I am your host, Nick Tucker. Today is Friday, June 2nd, 2017. I can't believe that it's June in the year of 2017. I don't know where this year has gone so far, as we're damn near in the middle of it, of this year. But here we are on this Friday, June 2nd. Of Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker, and I appreciate all of you being here as always. It's been a while since I've been on the air last, and a lot of personal changes I kind of went through. I do have a day job that I have to attend to, unfortunately. Can't make money off of doing quote-unquote conspiracy talk. At least not yet, anyway. So having to transition through all of that and transition through other things. But I am back, I am here, and I am up and on the air. And joining me on today's show is Mr. Wayne Pierce from American Liberty Radio. Anybody who's listened to this podcast going way back to when I first started doing this about 4 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long, 3-4 years ago. You know Wayne S. Pierce, very intelligent, has a lot of knowledge, and every time him and I get together and do a show here on my podcast or on his live show that he'll give you the link to here in just a few minutes, it's always informative, it's entertaining, there's no scripts, we maybe have a note or two written down, but this is from the top of our heads, folks. This is us knowing what we're talking about, knowing the information and knowing the facts. And for the people out there who say, you know, I appreciate your opinion, but I have to disagree with you, well, they obviously don't know anything about the facts, because they would know that there is really nothing they can disagree with us on, because we are presenting the facts hand over fist time and time again. So before I get Wayne on the show here, talking about Bilderberg 2017, very little talk from the alternative media about Bilderberg this year, which I am actually very surprised about, and that is what we're going to kick off the show with here tonight, is talking about Bilderberg, and kind of get into some of the bigwigs out there in the alternative media world that have been mum when it comes to Bilderberg this year, and we're going to discuss that, why Bilderberg itself, some of the attendees at Bilderberg this year, some of the usual suspects and some new faces. Also probably get into the whole Kathy Griffin debacle. It's so stupid. Everybody's focused on that and distracted from everything else. All it is just a ploy. It's just an attempt to sway your attention away from what's really going on. But we're going to get into that. Bilderberg, we're going to get into the terrorist attack that happened last week or so there in the United Kingdom at the Ariana Grande concert. She's a complete, total nut job herself. She hates her fans. She wants America to pretty much cease to exist the way that it is now, and we're going to get into all that and more. So before I do, ladies and gentlemen, distortedreality.podbean.com is where you can find this show if you're not already there. You can download the app to your smartphone, your Android smartphone, for free. You can also stream it straight from the website, distortedreality.podbean.com. Also, subscribe, folks. It's free. Share it out to friends and family. That's free too. And I need all your support. I need all your help out there, because I am still fighting censorship, as I will continue to fight censorship as I continue to speak about the truth and speak out against the New World Order. Facebook, very rarely on Facebook anymore. I'm slightly going more towards Twitter. Twitter isn't much better, but at this point in time, it's better outreach than Facebook is. But Facebook, Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker, or Distorted Reality NT on Facebook. Twitter, at Dist, D-I-S-T, Reality NT, at Dist Reality NT on Twitter is where you can find me as well. Stay up to date with all the information, my points of view, my opinions, articles, the whole 9 yards, folks. You can find it all there at the Twitter and on the Facebook and right here on the podcast. So with that being said, all the plugs out of the way, I want to welcome Mr. Wayne Pierce from American Liberty Radio back on the show. Wayne, it's been a long time since you and I had a discussion last, and we are here on this Friday edition talking about Bilderberg and everything else. So welcome to the show, and before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, why don't you go ahead and hand out your links to where everybody can find out your live show, your podcast, your Facebook, and everything else that goes with it.
It is AmericanLibertyRadio.com is the website. You can check it out there. Or you can go to American Liberty Radio on Spreaker.com. Check that out as well. I'm on Twitter at Real Wayne S. Pierce, or Real W.S. Pierce, I believe is what it is. I don't use it as much as I use Facebook, but and I'm at American Liberty Radio on Facebook, if you want to check that out as well. And, of course, any questions, just ask. You can email me at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com, American Liberty Radio at USA.com, and we're going to have a great show today, that's for sure.
Yeah, we are, and you just reminded me of something. I never do give out my email as well, so I might as well do it now and get it out of the way. DistortedRealityNT@gmail.com is where you can find me there, and people always say, oh, you use Gmail, that's Google email. Yeah, dumbass, but all the other websites and email addresses are all monitored too, so we're fighting back against the globalists by using their own systems, folks, so get over it. DistortedRealityNT@gmail.com. I know there's other more encrypted, more safe emails, but I hardly ever give out my email, so who cares? So here we go, folks. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this broadcast. Bilderberg 2017 is taking place right now as we speak in Chantilly, Virginia this year. I believe this is the first time that Bilderberg has been in the U.S. since 2009, if I'm not mistaken. And the last time it was here, it was held in Chantilly, Virginia. 1954 is when the Bilderberg group first met. They take their name because of the Hotel de Bilderberg, where they first met to talk about world domination, to talk about the New World Order, and everything that goes along with it. And here we are in 2017, years and years and years and years and years later. And it's not so much of a secret anymore. Before, people would say, no, there's not a group of powerful elites in media and in banking and in politics and everything else that get together and meet to, plot out world domination. There's nobody that gets together and talks about how they're going to keep the population down, this and that. And over the years, it's kind of broken through the mainstream in a way. So now it's not so much of a secret as it is. No one's really talking about it anymore, especially this year's Bilderberg group. And I have a suspicion as to why some of the key figures within the alternative media realm haven't given much focus on Bilderberg this year. And I'm speaking in particular to Alex Jones, obviously of Infowars.com. I do listen to Alex. I don't really go into everything that he says, but I would say on a good 95 to 96% of the time per show, he lays it out for you. It seems more and more since Trump's got put into presidency, he's kind of taken the high road and kind of gone with Trump, and everything that Trump does is great and this and that. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Hillary supporter. I'm not a Bernie supporter. I don't support anybody in the way of fully endorsing them, because I have to be on the outside looking in to be objective, not to be someone like an Alex Jones now who says, Trump did, some bad things, but, he's done some great things as well. And yes, that is true. Trump getting us out of the Paris Accord, the whole climate change BS. Trump getting us out of the TPP is great as well. But there's also other things that Trump has done that I'm not so in agreement with. And we'll save that for later on down the show. But that's what I believe why someone like an Alex Jones isn't covering Bilderberg as much as he has in the past. He sent his reporters out days in advance to other Bilderberg locations around the world, as they hold them in different places around the world every year. But it's just so weird, Wayne, how this year, with Bilderberg being in the United States for the first time in so long, back in Chantilly, Virginia, that it would be so much more cheap for Alex to send his crew, 2-3 days in advance, like he's done in the past when they've been, in other spots around the world. But he hasn't done that, and he hasn't talked about Bilderberg all that much. And yes, I know that David Knight is on location. I know that on today's show, even though I haven't watched it yet, I know on today's show they talked more about Bilderberg because David Knight is there. But the lead up to it, Wayne, is what I'm getting at. He hasn't talked about it. He hasn't focused on it. He hasn't really said much about anything in terms of Bilderberg this year, with it being back in the United States. And I think a lot of that has to do with, A, Jerome Corsi getting the White House press pass, Infowars having a foot in the door in the White House press room, and B, obviously the close ties that Alex has now with Donald Trump through Roger Stone, through Jerome Corsi, the list goes on and on. And for you folks out there who might be getting into this stuff for the first time, just Google all those names that I just gave you, and you'll see what I'm getting at here. But Wayne, what's your take on all this, and why do you think that AJ, Alex Jones hasn't mentioned much of Bilderberg this year.
Well, it's like I can equate it to, knowing that you're going to receive something, but you don't know quite what it is, and then when you find out that what the item is, which is the press pass that they were seeking for years and years and years, they get to that point where, now it's in their hands, and now we've got, our foot in the door. And are we going to talk about how bad the government is now that we have our press credentials in the White House and the press? So there's that one aspect to look at. It's like, now what? We received it. Now what? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is what you talked about just a second ago, the lead up to it. Now, I've heard him talk in the past, months about Bilderberg. He just mentioned it. He didn't go into who was doing what, where, when, why, and how, and all that like he used to. But again, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Donald Trump is in the White House now, and because Alex Jones will say he doesn't agree with everything that Trump's doing, so that's a good sign. But yet he's not talking about all of the other extenuating things that are going on, like how the Democrats are trying to, and of course Bilderberg, trying to overthrow Trump's presidency. This is also in the alternative news that I read this morning, and it's amazing to me that he didn't give much of a lead up to it. But as I've watched some of the behind the scenes stuff I know that David Knight's out there at Bilderberg in Chantilly, Virginia.
Wayne, I'm going to cut you off right there for a second. Wayne, I'm going to cut you off right there for a second. Your phone's breaking up. It's kind of going in and out. Maybe you can move around and get in a better spot. I'll give you a second to fine-tune that. But, yeah, exactly what you're saying. The lead-up. Alex Jones hasn't done much of that. He's got Jerome Corsi into the White House press area now, and he's got some major ties for the first time and probably ever into the White House. So maybe he is going a little bit hush hush on some of the core issues that he's talked about in the past that made him so popular within the alternative media realm. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still folks out there who are talking about the truth and putting videos out, such as Luke Rudkowski from We Are Change, Dan Dix from Press for Truth. So we still have, great people, great journalists, real journalists out there on the forefront at Bilderberg talking about Bilderberg and the lead up to it. Yes, David Knight from InfoWars is out there. Mike Cernovich, I know, has tweeted a few times last night, and I actually commented on one of his tweets talking about Bilderberg. But what's interesting, and I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle here, Wayne, is that, McMaster, the national security advisor under Trump's administration here, he's an attendant of Bilderberg this year. And so you have a person up here like a Donald Trump who's supposed to be, America first, anti-globalism, all this and that, yet he's allowing his national security advisor to go to Bilderberg, to participate in Bilderberg this year. Other people within Trump's administration will be at Bilderberg, even though they're not on the official attendance list. We always know that there's people going into Bilderberg that's not on the official attendance list, such as Barack Obama, such as Hillary Clinton in the past. The list goes on and on. So we know that there's individuals that are going to be there. Trump might be there for all we know. Who knows? 3 o'clock in the morning, he might get, taken out of the White House, and here he goes, into Chantilly, Virginia, for a quick little meeting with all the globalists. Who knows? And for the first time in a very long time, we've got no David Rockefeller and we've got no Brzezinski, because they both have died this year. So they're not in attendance of Bilderberg, but obviously Kissinger is. But what I'm getting at here, Wayne, is with all this lead up to Bilderberg, no mention from Alex. We just went over everything, with Jerome Corsi, the White House press pass, all that is all great and dandy and fine. Roger Stone is there and everything else with Alex. But with you got McMaster, the national security advisor, going to Bilderberg. You've got on the official agenda list of Bilderberg this year, they're going to talk about Trump. It's just, I really find it troublesome, and I find it interesting how Jones is really so hush-hush compared to how he has been in the past. What's your take on that, Wayne?
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I going in and out? Am I good?
Nope, you're coming in loud and clear, buddy.
Alrighty. Yeah, I look at it as Alex Jones finally got the prize. He finally gets a man in the press, in the White House, but then doesn't talk about, what he used to talk about, which is behind the scenes in the Bilderberg group meetings as to how they try to influence the presidency, how they influence Congress, how they influence the lobbyists and the special interest groups. He didn't talk about that, and I've been watching some clips here and there, and haven't watched the whole show yet today. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think that what it is, in my opinion, from my perspective, I think what it is that he's got the prize. And so why talk about it anymore? Now, of course, let me give you a contrast to that. If Hillary was in, he'd be complaining and talking about Bilderberg and all this, and he'd be, doing that. But right now, I don't know what his mindset was leading up to this meeting. I'm sure he's mentioned it, and I'm sure he, obviously sent David Knight out and all that. And it's interesting to me that something that big is not talked about in the alternative media. Now, of course, we only listen to Alex Jones, and I listen to a few other people, but and I've never heard anybody talk specifically in depth about the Bilderberg group happening this year in Chantilly, Virginia. I never have. And to not hear anything coming out of InfoWars about it is kind of surprising, considering that he talked about it for a long, long time since, I think, I forget the guy who started all, revealing all the information from
Jim
Bilderberg.
Tucker.
Jim Tucker, and I think Mars talked about it as well. But I don't see why he hasn't talked about it. I don't understand it. But you're right that there are people in Trump's cabinet who are there. From what I could tell, it's not only McMaster's, but it's 3 other people. And for me to see that and to read that headline, like I did on my podcast this morning, it's like I'm sitting there thinking, why are these people going there? Doesn't that violate the Hogan Act or something like that? And why are they? And you hit the nail on the head when you asked the question. Well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Donald Trump may want to go show up and find out what's going on, and he has every right to do that. But what's going to happen? We can only speculate and guess, of course.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show you too how controlled the media really is, and how all this is such fake news. To steal a quote from Donald Trump, it is fake news because they come out with this whole Russia narrative, this BS about Russia influence our elections. If you have the stomach to listen to people like Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and the rest of them, they won't let it go that Russia meddled in our election. That's why Hillary lost. Hell, Hillary is doing the rounds, talking to universities and public speaking engagements, talking about how, yes, it was Russia who helped Julian Assange and WikiLeaks dump the Podesta emails to, throw everybody off of the Hillary campaign, when that is complete BS. That Russia gave intel to WikiLeaks. We know that it was Seth Rich who was murdered, who was shot out there in was it Washington D.C. or Baltimore, whatever city it was. He was shot to death because he was the one who was giving the information to WikiLeaks. That was WikiLeaks' source was Seth Rich, a DNC staffer, somebody who was pretty high up there when it comes to the communications aspect of it through the emails and documenting everything. He saw what was going on. He didn't like it, so he gave it to WikiLeaks because he could trust WikiLeaks that Julian Assange and them could put out the truth and the information, and that's exactly what WikiLeaks did. So it just goes to show you how if they're on this Russia kick, if they want to impeach Trump so bad, all this fake garbage that they're spreading about Russia, here is a perfect opportunity for Nancy Pelosi, for Maxine Waters, for Hillary Clinton, for Bernie Sanders, for all these idiots to come out and say, hey, look, we've got H.R. McMaster, who is the national security advisor under Trump and his administration, going to this secretive meeting that's closed doors, that is not, put out to the public. This is, grounds for impeachment. What's going on here? What are they conspiring to do against the American people? But no, they don't do that because the Nancy Pelosi's, the Bernie Sanders, the Maxine Waters, all of them are in it as well. They're with the Bilderberg group. They're with the globalist agenda. They're with the New World Order cyber takeover. It's all a scam. It's all a lie. And that's why I cannot officially jump on the so-called Trump train, even if I wanted to, because if Trump is such an anti-globalist and America first and everything else, then why isn't he speaking about Bilderberg Group? Why couldn't he be the first sitting president to come out and talk about the Bilderberg Group? How come he couldn't say, hey, McMaster, you're not going to go to Bilderberg this year, and if you do, I'm going to relinquish you of your duties. He has the power to do that. Why hasn't he done that? Because it's all one and the same. It's all the same garbage. It's all the same people, time and time again, and nothing ever changes because the same bureaucracies, the same institutions, the same people are still at play. It's just, as we've always said, Wayne, Trump is just the sitting CEO of this corporation, formerly known as the United States for America, and he's just sitting up there. Yes, he's made some good things, he's made some good decisions, he's made some bad decisions, but overall, nothing has changed. The majority of the public is still in the dark about Bilderberg. We still have, presidential cabinet holders such as McMaster going to Bilderberg. I mean, nothing has really changed, Wayne. And I can't say I don't, because I do see how Alex isn't covering Bilderberg as much as he has in the past, but it's kind of disappointing. We have an Alex Jones now who is, so far up Trump's ass that, I was watching a show of his, I think it was last night or the night before, and instead of, focusing hardcore on the news and talking about Bilderberg and exposing it like he has in the past, he's, flopping around on stage like a fish out of water, playing a joke and being, stupid, on air. And it's just like, that's not the Alex Jones that, I liked when I first discovered Jones some years back. That's not the same hardcore, hard information, hard hitter Alex Jones that I knew in the past. This is somebody who's comfortable, as you say, because he's finally got somebody in the White House press, somebody who's comfortable knowing that, his viewers are still going to watch him, still buy his products and everything else. And it's not, I don't want to turn this into a bashing of AJ, but I am highly disappointed in how he's been since January when Trump's taken office.
Yeah, and I see that for myself as well, and I also see a difference. When you were talking, something flashed in my mind. You said that this whole thing, and you and I both know this whole political arena is filled with a bunch of shills and backstabbing, arrogant bastards, and they're going to do everything to get their way and to get their agenda fulfilled. But the one thing that flashed in my mind was Nazi Germany, when Hitler was talking about, Mother Germany, the fatherland. He was talking about nationalism and everybody's going to come together and work together and everything was fine, and all of a sudden he's rounding up a whole bunch of people. I don't think Trump's able to do that at this point, but it just flashed in my mind that leaders around the world would tell their citizens, here's this, here's that. Here, we're going to come together and make a better country, and we're going to, and they do this popular, this populism and this nationalism speak, and they get everybody riled up, and they say, yes, we're going to come together, and yes, and everybody's all happy and everything, and then, the other shoe drops, and it's just one of those things where, okay, right now, are we waiting for another shoe to drop, or are we just gonna sit here and go through the same old, bull crap that we have for the last, I don't know how many years, It's just amazing to me that I don't see more of the alternative media, other than Dan Dix and Luke Grozowski and all this, talk about Bilderberg. And I don't listen to too many other alternative media people. I should, just to get a well-rounded view of what they're saying too. But it's just, simply put, they got the gold ring, they got Corsi in the press, and in the press, in Washington. They got him there, and now it's just like, okay, now we can sit back and relax. I'm guessing here. I'm just, this is just my particular opinion from watching Alex Jones, and it's like now he understands that, okay, everything's going to be fine, and now we can just sit back and, drink a beer and kick our feet up, and, it's just, that is the worst thing to do, I believe that now that Jerome Corsi is in the White House press corps, I believe Alex Jones should attack more of the Democrats, more of the Republicans who are in name only and residing in Washington, D.C., and go after them and expose Bilderberg for who they are. And he's not doing that, but that would be a strategy I would do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a strategy that I would take too. And, when you look at it and you've got people that's close to Alex Jones who are close to Trump and have been for years, such as Roger Stone, such as Jerome Corsi, it's easy for Alex to get, lost in the shuffle, so to speak, to believe everything that is being said around him about Trump being this great guy and being this nationalist and everything else. And there's nothing wrong with being a nationalist, folks. But, when you've got all these people surrounding you that have known Trump for years, personally know him, not just, his business side or his politics side now, but know him personally, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. But I believe that AJ is smarter than that. I believe that, from what he's shown and talked about in the past, I mean, he had guts. He had the guts to come out and call people out before anybody else had the guts to do that. He had a platform to do that. Talk about Sandy Hook and talk about 9/11 being an inside job and all this, the Oklahoma City bombings and everything else that went with it. I mean, AJ had the guts, he had the balls, he had the bravado to stand up to these people and say, you know what? You guys are trying to take over. You guys are globalists. There is a New World Order agenda. There is an Illuminati plan, a plot to take over the United States and the world. And here's how. Here's the people here. And, in years past, and Bilderberg being in foreign countries, he's always talked about Bilderberg and the lead up to it, weeks in advance, and sent his reporters out days in advance, and always, did live feeds of his reporters showing up and, showing, the barricades being set up and local police being instructed to, hold everybody back and everything else. And this year, I am highly, highly disappointed. I was talking to my wife about this the other night. I'm just so taken back that, I don't think AJ has sold out just yet, but, it's definitely not the same Alex Jones. It's not the same, red-faced, the yelling and screaming part, people have their opinions on that, whatever, but it's real. It's somebody who has the passion to expose these people that are behind the scenes, ruining our daily lives literally every day. And they meet in secret every year at this Bilderberg group to talk about world events, to plot for the future, to bring people in, to groom them to be future presidents of the United States, prime ministers of other countries, to be lead figures in industry and finance and everything else that goes with it. And this year, it's fallen flat. No one is talking about it. I have seen very little discussion on social media about Bilderberg this year, and now we're all distracted with this whole Kathy Griffin fiasco that we're going to get into here later on. But I am highly disappointed, and, I don't know if this is the start of the downfall of a sold-out Alex Jones. I hope not, because he is truly the only one that's big enough on the alternative media side to bring these issues to the forefront. I just hope that he's not losing his way, that he's, buying into what all the other insiders to Trump that's surrounding Jones now. I hope he's not buying the Kool-Aid or drinking the Kool-Aid and believing it. I still hold out a little bit of hope, but I'm highly disappointed in this.
Yeah, I am too, and I'll give him a shot. I mean, I'll listen to what he has to say, and I'm kind of used to him, screaming and yelling, whatever opinion you folks have about that. But he's literally pissed before, about these people coming, and he sent his reporters out to, when they were in Switzerland. I guess he sent out Paul Joseph Watson to Switzerland with somebody else, and and now, like you said, it falls flat. There's he knows that he's got the home run. He knows that he's stepped on home plate. He's going to the dugout, and next, what next? What next is there for him to do? But I can tell you this much: it is, from my particular point of view, there's a trifecta of secret meetings going. Not so much secret on two of them, but the information that is coming out about what these meetings have, what the purpose of these meetings are. Last week, or the week before, we had the G7, which was happening, and then now we have Bilderberg, and next we have the G20. those three groups and those meetings are crucial to the NWO's takeover of the world, of the elites of the world taking over every industrialized nation for their particular agenda, for their particular gain of whatever. I mean, this whole thing hinges on, that whole purpose of them hinges on these three meetings. And I guess there's another one coming up after the G20. I'm not sure, but these three really stick out in my mind as the key elements of how everything is going to be drawn out, planned out, and engaged in or implemented. And people just have to get their eyes off of freaking Kathy Griffin and all that bull crap, and they got to get their eyes off of Rachel Maddow and all the mainstream propaganda media. They just have to take their eyes off of that and shut all that off and go out and do their own homework and find out what's going on.
Exactly. And another not so secretive meeting that I think you're trying to get at too is the Davos meetings, the Davos group.
Yes.
G7, G20, Bilderberg, Davos, the list goes on and on. Let's not forget about Bohemian Grove. That's coming up here in the next few weeks out there in Northern California. But, I mean, there's just so much to take in. And for a second here, for everybody out there who's listening for the first time or might have an idea about some of this stuff, and, you hear terms like G7, G20, Bilderberg, Davos, Bohemian Grove, and this is not, resonating with you. You don't know exactly what we're talking about. Please, as you're listening to Wayne and I discuss these topics and what's going on here, do yourself a favor. Pull up a search, window. I use Start Page and type in these terms and do a little bit of research and homework on your own to see what these meetings are and who's involved in these meetings. And they meet every year, folks, and they literally plot out our daily lives. They talk about how to control the media. They're talking about how to control Trump. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's for real or not, because they put it out in a not a press release, but on their own stupid website. I think it's like bilderbergmeetings.org or something like that. They put out their like 9 points of discussions for this year's meeting, and on there happen to be talking about Donald Trump. So I don't know if I buy into all that just yet, but do yourself a favor and just search all these terms that we're talking about and follow along with us here, and you'll start to see the bigger picture of it all, folks, because there's a bigger play, a bigger scheme going on around the world than what you just think there are. If you listen to Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, local news, which is still Fox News, ABC, CBS, it's all regurgitated crap. And when we talk about Alex Jones, he's hyping up his meeting next week with Megyn Kelly, formerly of Fox News, who's now with NBC News. And it's like he's more focused on getting his name out there for more name recognition, to have Alex Jones in the headlines even more, than to focus in on the core issues such as Bilderberg Group 2017. Again, he's more focused on Megyn Kelly. He's more focused on, I'm going to, flop around on stage here on my live broadcast like a fish out of water to be comical and to be funny, and, instead of hammering the core issues. So that's what you're going to get here on this show, folks, is somebody who's going to talk about the core issues, the real issues. And even if I did have a video of me live talking as I'm doing this recorded podcast, you're damn well bet that I'm not going to be flopping around here on my floor like a fish out of water. I know for a fact Wayne's not going to be doing that. This is where you're going to get the core information, folks. And people like Luke Rudowski from We Are Change, Dan Dix from Press for Truth, Kurt Nemo, who's a former lead editor of Infowars.com, who left Alex and Infowars last year. He's come out on Twitter over the last several months and not bashing Trump and Jones, but saying, hey, look at this collusion here. Where's the Alex of old, as I'm saying now, And so there's other people out there who are seeing this, and it's not just us, but it is very troublesome because, again, like I said, Alex was the voice of the alternative media. Alex was the voice that had all the rest of us stand up and say, you know what, 9/11 was an inside job. I'm not afraid to say it. Sandy Hook looked to be staged. I'm not afraid to say it. The Colorado movie theater shooting looked to be staged. The Boston bombing looked to be staged. we're not afraid to talk about these issues because it's healthy to talk about, not regurgitate what Fox News or CNN tells you when they're quote unquote fake news, which they are. And again, now we have this Kathy Griffin debacle, which I think is a huge distraction from Bilderberg. Trump coming out yesterday and getting the U.S. out of the Paris Accord for the whole climate change carbon tax pushed by Al Gore. I think that was a distraction. Even though it's good for the U.S. to get out of it, I think it was a distraction from Bilderberg. So you have all these distractions going on, Wayne, and no one's really talking about Bilderberg this year, which is a true shame, especially being that it's in the United States. And I find it odd. I find it curious. I don't think it's a coincidence that Bilderberg 2017, Wayne, is in the United States the same year that it's the first, 5-6 months of Trump being in office here. I don't see that as a coincidence.
No, I don't either. I don't know what they were planning, and I don't have insiders. I wish I did, but if you want to get a hold of me, you can. I don't have anybody, giving me information, under the table, let's say. But I also look at it this way with the Bilderberg lead up, and it's basically, remember all the mysteries, and when you look at magicians, and then you're like, oh, that's so cool, and it's so, and the tricks and all of this, and then when you talk to a magician and they actually tell you how the thing is done, you're like, oh, really? And now when you watch them, you're like, oh, I know how that's done. So I think, and the word I was thinking of before with Alex Jones was, I think he became just a little complacent. He's become a little, set, and now he's, in his easy chair, and now he's going to entertain. And I almost feel as if, and I hope he hasn't done this really. I think that maybe he just kind of went the Glenn Beck way of just now it's just entertainment. I hope he hasn't done that. I hope that he gets back on track and gets to the heavy news. And I know Davos is coming up and a few other things. And I hope he hits that. I hope he sends reporters out. As a matter of fact, right there in Nevada where you're at, right there at the prison, we got political prisoners that nobody's talking about. We have Bundys there in the prison. We have Pete Santilli, independent journalist, in prison, and nobody's talking about that. And this just really, what are people looking at? They're looking at things like Kathy Griffin and all that debacle and her pseudo, genuine apology that she had. She's a washed-up freaking comic, and that's just the way it is, and nobody should be listening to her.
Exactly, and I never found her funny anyway, and I completely agree with you, Wayne. We have political prisoners that are paying the ultimate price for doing nothing more than reporting on the truth, whether it's through a radio show, whether it's through a live stream on social media, through videos on YouTube, whatever the case may be, writing articles for our website. We do have political prisoners. We do have people that are locked up that shouldn't be locked up. Whether you agree with what Chelsea Manning did, formerly Bradley Manning, that's up for debate. But he, she, now whatever the hell is going on with Manning. Release the information to WikiLeaks saying, hey, this is what the U.S. military is doing. It's wrong. I don't like it. Maybe you can do something with it. And WikiLeaks did. And kudos, because that is wrong. That shouldn't be going on. If we're doing that type of heinous acts, in the middle of war that we should never have been in the first place, we're no better than our quote-unquote enemies. We're no better than the quote-unquote terrorists. So Pete Santilli is locked up right now. We've got members of the Bundy family locked up. As a matter of fact, I just saw a report on the local news here last night about one of the gentlemen involved, not one of the Bundys themselves, but a gentleman that was at the Bundy Ranch a few years ago when they stood up against the BLM. They stood up against the federal agents and said, you're not coming in and taking away Cliven Bundy's ranch. He's now been in, I think he was given a prison sentence of 3+ years for just standing up to the BLM, folks, for just standing up for what you believe in, standing up for your rights, standing up to bureaucracies that are trying to take, people's lands and homes away, their livelihood away, their cattle, because of stupid grazing rights, because of water rights that he shouldn't have to pay because he's had the land before the BLM even came in. Same thing with the Oregon quote-unquote standoff that happened last year, folks. This is the kind of nonsense that we have to put up with on a daily basis here. We're more worried about, like you said, Wayne, a washed up, not funny comic like Kathy Griffin, who, like, I can't remember anything that she's ever been in other than, the stupid New Year's crap on CNN. I can't remember any TV show she was in. I know she was in some, but I can't remember. She's not funny, but people are more focused on that, of her holding up of a dummy mannequin head of Donald Trump, almost like an ISIS video. And yes, that's wrong. Yes, you shouldn't have done that. Yes, I believe that that's not a part of free speech, because you're influencing all these other dumbasses out there, like the Antifa movement, the anti-fascist movement. Oh, Donald Trump's a fascist. So what are we going to do? Instead of going out and protesting and exercising our First Amendment, we're going to go out and attack Trump supporters, because that's what we do. So now you have people like Kathy Griffin, who holds a severed simulation of Donald Trump's head being severed, with blood pouring out of his forehead, and almost in an ISIS propaganda video, slowly raising the mannequin dummy head full of blood, a severed head of Donald Trump. Oh, that's provocative. Oh, that's real edgy, And now she comes out today and she does a little press conference where she's crying. I made a mistake, and now Trump is so mean, and all of his Trump supporters are so mean to me, and I feel like I'm a victim now. Give me a freaking break, lady. Go piss off already. Nobody gives a damn about you. You did this as a publicity stunt. Your name is back in the news. Everybody's talking about you again. That's exactly what you wanted. It was a distraction from Bilderberg. It's a distraction from everything else, lady. So do me a favor and go piss off. And how about we, release Pete Santilli? We release the Bundys. We end this debacle. We end all this, nonsense that's going on. It's just, I'm so taken back by it all, Wayne. And it's just, for lack of a better term, it's just a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, and I cannot remember, even going back looking at history of the United States of America, I can't remember a time, and please, anybody out there that want to remind me of anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember a time that a reporter, an independent journalist, an investigative reporter, went out somewhere to report the news and got arrested and thrown in jail. I don't remember a time in the United States of America that anything like that has ever happened. And yeah, this washed-up comic, and she's not funny, and I can name a few others, like Chris Rock and a few others. They're just complete frickin' morons, including, let's not forget, just recently, Robert De Niro came out and said a few things. And I'm just like, stick with the movies, dude. Just do your movies and stay out of politics. And it's amazing to me that people take a platform and use it for their own self-aggrandizement, their own selfish worthlessness, and say something political. It just makes their career go into crapper, you know what I mean? And now we have this Jim Carrey coming out and kind of sort of defending Kathy Griffin, saying that comedy crosses the line and that's what we do. And I'm like, what? No, this is not comedy. This is a complete and utter symbolic threat to a constitutional republic with, as you said, an ISIS-esque type of video. And it's like, no. The FBI is going to, investigate her and other things. And by the way, Kathy Griffin's attorney is the daughter of Gloria Allred. Hello. So another Clinton supporter there, you know what I mean? So it's I'm going to say it. It's all bullshit. It is a complete and utter scam. And Donald Trump, and some of the things I don't like that he's doing, I don't agree with some of the things, but for the most part, I agree with what he's doing. We should have pulled out long ago from the Paris Accord, but he's doing everything that he needs to do to eliminate all of the problems in Washington, D.C. Is he, just a suit? Is he just a body in a suit in the Oval Office? More than likely, yeah. but he's doing what he said he's going to do. The only thing you see, the only negativity in all of this is what the Democrats and what the fascist Republicans and what the Sanders supporters and the Clinton supporters are doing, and what the Bilderberg group is doing, trying to overthrow this presidency because their money supply is slowly dwindling away. They cannot continue to do what they do if Donald Trump closes the purse on the American, to save the American taxpayer. Close the purse. Get rid of everything, including the Federal Reserve and the IRS and all of those little side departments that make these globalists a whole lot of money. If you cut 75% of all the departments in Washington, D.C., we'd still be hanging around. But what we need to do, literally, we the people need to do this, is go and just cut Washington, D.C. off completely. We don't need them. Our founding fathers said not to have a centralized government, but as of the Act of 1871, we have a centralized government. We should not have it, period.
Absolutely. We have states' rights, we have state constitutions, we have state flags. We have all that because states are sovereign unto themselves. They're individual almost city-states, of course, are not city-states. We have three of those. That's Vatican City, the City of London, and, of course, Washington, D.C. You've got finance, you've got religion, and, of course, you've got the military of the U.S., but states are supposed to be sovereign unto their own. They're supposed to stand up for what the states believe in, for what the citizens of that state want done, not getting what's handed down by Washington, D.C. and all the legislation that's being passed through in Washington, D.C. that trickles off to the rest of the states. That's not how our government was designed to be. We sent representatives to the Capitol to fight for our rights, and we don't have that anymore. Now we have career politicians like John McCain, Harry Reid, who's no longer there, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters. The list goes on and on. We have career politicians who are not sent there to do the bidding of we the people. They are there because they are put there because they go and do the globalist bidding. And, going back real quick to this whole Kathy Griffin debacle, and people say, like Jim Carrey, oh, comedy's supposed to be edgy. It's not comedic when you show a simulated severed head of the President of the United States. If somebody did that when Obama was in office, I would be against that because that's just stupid. You can't do that. All that's going to do is bring out the negativity of people, that much more than it's already been brought out. You've got the Antifa group. Imagine if the tables were turned and Hillary Clinton was put into office, and you have a group of Trump loyalists who won't give up like the Hillary loyalists won't give up, and they went out and started attacking Clinton supporters. Imagine if, God rest his soul, George Carlin, my favorite comedian of all time, who always threw in little hints of truth about the New World Order, about the Illuminati in his comedy routine. Imagine if he was still alive and Hillary was in office today, and he did this exact same thing Kathy Griffin did, and slowly put up a severed head, a mock severed head of Hillary Clinton. Imagine that backlash, and that would be warranted. I would be against that. So don't sit here and tell me that what Kathy Griffin did was okay because it's comedic and it's edgy and it's what should be done. No bullshit. That's not comedic. That's not edgy. That's just being stupid. And now her name is back in the press, and that's all that she wanted to do. And as you mentioned, Wayne, the daughter of Gloria Allred. For folks who don't know Gloria Allred, go Google that disaster. That disgusting lady, and see what she was involved in with the Clintons, as well as you alluded to, Wayne. So the more things change, the more things stay the same. We're still battling the same, pieces of trash there in Washington, D.C. We're still battling the same, trash lawyers, the same trash comedians. Nothing ever changes. Alec Baldwin constantly mocks, President Trump on Saturday Night Live, and that's okay because that's what he, should do as a comedic actor. I never really found his movies to be really funny at all, or a good actor in my opinion. But whatever. He's not up there, showing a mock severed head of Donald Trump. He's just making an ass of himself, trying to portray himself as Donald Trump. So whatever, buddy. More power to you. But Kathy Griffin, oh my God, the the deception that was put on today with her doing her little fake cry. Oh, I'm the victim now. Really, lady, you're the victim. You succeeded in what you attempted to do, and that was to get your name back out in the press because nobody cared about you anymore. Nobody even remembered who you were anymore. And now you're the talk of the town. Now everybody's talking about you again, Kathy. So piss off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's incredible to me that people who have spent time outside of the limelight of Hollywood and outside of the public view do everything they can, whether it's controversial or not, to get back into the public eye, to get people talking about them again. And to me, and this is not everybody in Hollywood, but that's a cesspool of shysters anyway. But this is not everybody, but there are people who literally do anything to get back into the public eye, and their production companies or managers are saying, yeah, they're making a comeback. No, they're getting out there in stupid ways to do, anything to get their name back in the news in any fashion whatsoever. To me, they're mentally ill when they do that. There's something that's just not connecting with them, and it's just, having been, in not really the limelight, but having been in theater and entertainment, I had to step away because I got to that point of saying, I'm feeling as if I have to have this all the time. And because of that feeling, I went, I'm taking a break. And 15 years after that, just last year, year before last, I got back into theater, and now I feel better doing it. It almost, it was almost a feeling of, I have to have that adulation all the time, that applause all the time. And that's an addictive nature. And because of my past when I was a teenager, I can't afford to do that on any level. So when I took that 15 years off and came back to theater again, it felt better. I felt more in control. And I knew that I could do a little bit, and then go off and then do a little bit, and it was fine. It's kind of like you. If somebody were to ask you, hey, can you do a benefit for us, in a wrestling match, you'd probably do it for one night. You probably wouldn't mind, and then go home.
Yeah, exactly. And, it is addicting when you get to that certain point of your career in entertainment. And for those of you who don't know, I was a professional wrestler for 14 plus years, and went to places and did things and met a lot of people, and it is addicting to a point. And would I ever step back into a wrestling ring? Yeah, maybe if the opportunity was right and the timing was right and everything else. But when you are a celebrity, a mainstream celebrity, and you have no clue as to how anything really works because either A, you're drugged up all the time in Hollywood, B, you're part of the Hollywood elite inside club, and yes, folks, they do exist. You really don't have an idea of what's going on. I see, some of these, rock bands, such as the Prophets of Rage, which are made up of former Rage Against the Machine members. They're supposed to be raging against the machine, right? Well, here they are doing benefits for, like, Bernie Sanders and talking about how bad Trump is. And it's like, you dumbasses have no idea what's really going on. I look at somebody like Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. It's no secret that Megadeth is my favorite band, and will always be my favorite band. And Dave Mustaine is the exception. Dave Mustaine is a celebrity. He is literally a rock star and has been in the limelight for many of years and will continue to be. And here he is out there in his songs and his lyrics talking about the New World Order. Literally has a song called New World Order. Talks about the Illuminati. Talks about everything else that has to go with it. So there's people out there in the entertainment industry that do know what's really going on and speak about it. And then there are the people like the Kathy Griffins who have no idea. There are people like Rosie O'Donnell who have no idea what's really going on. And, it's sickening how people in today's society just live and die by everything that a celebrity does. All the celebrity magazines and the celebrity stupid shows on television, and oh my God, did you hear about this? Oh my God, did you hear about that? Who freaking cares, man? It's like the same people, like the men who beat their chest. Oh yeah, did you see the NBA Finals last night? Yeah, did you see LeBron James do this and LeBron James do? Who gives a damn? How does that benefit you in your daily life? Are you still drinking that fluoride in your water? Are you still eating that GMO? Are you still, inhaling that poisonous air from the chemtrails? Yes, you are, dumbass. And is that going to change with you focusing all of your energy and your time into, sports and celebrities and everything else? No, it's not. Is it good to have an escape? Is it good to have entertainment? Absolutely. But to focus your entire existence, your entire being on what some overpaid celebrity has to say or what they do is nonsense. And that's exactly what this Kathy Griffin debacle is to get her name back out there. Now people are talking about her. Nobody's talking about Bilderberg Group, of course. Nobody's talking about, their continuing plot for world domination. Nobody's talking about how David Rockefeller, for the first time in many years, isn't there. Brzezinski isn't going to be there. Unfortunately, Kissinger is still there. But nobody's talking about this. Let's just talk about Kathy Griffin. Let's just talk about the NBA Finals. Let's just talk about everything that makes no freaking sense whatsoever. Let's talk about how damaging it is. I saw this, Wayne. Oh, my God. I can't believe I almost forgot about this. I saw this yesterday and this morning on groups such as the ACLU, talking about how when Trump pulls the U.S. out of the Paris Accord, this whole climate carbon tax fiasco, that it's racist and it's misogynist, and how could he do this to the young non-binary people of the planet? It's like, what the hell are they even talking about? What planet are we on? I mean, this is all so much to take in.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a couple of things that you reminded me of, and I almost forgot this too. I was watching a movie from 1967 with James Coburn called In Like Flint. Okay, if you've never seen that, the second one, there was Our Man Flint, James Coburn, and then In Like Flint, and with James Coburn playing Derek, Derek Flint is what the character's name was. At one point, almost at the end of the movie, I forgot his name now, but the guy playing the president, a fake president, right? He's playing this dual character. So one character is the actual president, and then the fake president, same actor, was playing the fake president. So the fake president gets hauled off. He gets found out. He gets hauled off by security guards, and he yells, stop drinking fluoride, or do you know that they put fluoride in the water? Stop drinking it. This is 1967, folks, okay? If you've never seen it, it's on Netflix. If you've never seen it, go check it out. It's campy, it's James Coburn, it's a spoof off of the spy films, off of the, James Bond type things, and all that. But that was weird when I, heard that last night. The other night I was watching Netflix, I saw an episode of American Dad. They went, the character of Roger and the character of Steve went to the New York Stock Exchange, and Roger was, putting money, investing money in this name of this company, and the character, Steve Smith looks at Roger and says, what? You thought, what? This is the New York Stock Exchange. What did you think it was? And the character of Roger goes, I thought it was the Hollywood Stock Exchange where you invest in actors and all of that. No. And I'm like, wow, they actually talked about that, and in several episodes I see that the storylines in American Dad were geared to exposing certain behind-the-scenes things of the federal government, and then, of course, subsequent episodes didn't talk about that so much. So, it kind of got me a little bit, and I'm like, ooh, they're touching on some very serious subjects here. But then, of course, it went really not so controversial. It just went back to being entertainment, but it was so incredible when I saw him Flint talk about that. And I never had that character do that. I'm like, man, they were talking about this in '67. Don't put fluoride in the water and stuff like that. Don't drink the fluoride. It was what the line was. And I just sat there.
All right, Wayne, hold on a second. Your phone is breaking up there again. I'm gonna let you reposition yourself and talking about all this truth in Hollywood and truth in film and television. Excuse me. I think the next time you come on, I think we should do a whole special talking about the Illuminati in Hollywood and some of the truth that's hidden in plain sight in some of these film and TV shows. I've done a show about that in the past. I haven't done that in a while, and the last time I did it alone. I was by myself, so maybe the next time you come on, maybe we can do a whole special, an in-depth special about the Illuminati in Hollywood and some of the propaganda they put out, and also some of the truth that they put out. As I saw on Twitter, the new season of House of Cards, they actually have a couple of scenes where, one, they actually reenact what happens at Bohemian Grove, where they stand in front of the huge statue and they perform mock human sacrifices. And then the same season of House of Cards, they have the actress who plays, I think it's the wife of Spacey or whatever his name is, that's the lead actor of the show. She's talking about fluoride in the water as well, and how there's the fluoride's poisoning you, and all this and that. So I think the next time you come on, we should do that, because we always talk about Hollywood. We always talk about the Illuminati in Hollywood, so maybe we should just go ahead and do a whole special on everything that we see in movies and television and film and music and everything else about the Illuminati.
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Hey, good. That would be great, because there's a lot of, not only is there actual, episodes that talk about this stuff in a way, but there's also the behind the scenes. If you look behind the scenes of all, look at the symbolism is what I'm saying. Look at the symbolism in these shows, and it shows exactly what's going on. And there's a lot of that in Hollywood. And again, commie California with dictator Jerry Brown, they're just, they're going full bore now. I'm totally done with California, because yes, I was born and raised there, but I saw the writing on the wall and I left, and so did my cousin. But I just get to that point where when you look at Hollywood, when you look at what's happening, and that's why we don't have cable, we have internet, so we watch Hulu and Netflix. So I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand. Well, maybe I do, but maybe I'm still kind of questioning why people cannot open their eyes enough to see the symbolism, to see what's going on behind the scenes, to see what's happening within the scenes itself, and to read between the lines. I don't know what it is specifically, but I can guess that it's the fact that people don't like truth. People don't like facts. People don't like their paradigm to be destroyed from all of the truth and the facts that are out there.
Exactly, and we are going to do that. I'm going to talk to you off air once we end this broadcast, and we're going to set it up. We're going to get you back on hopefully sooner rather than later, and we're going to do a whole special on the truth and propaganda in Hollywood and film and TV, because a lot of people out there see it, but they don't recognize it until it's brought to their attention. Then you sit back and say, holy crap, I can't believe that was actually in that show or that movie. I've seen it once before. I didn't register with me because I wasn't in tune or I wasn't aware of what was going on. But now that I am and I see it, holy crap, that's happened to me on several occasions, going back and watching old TV shows or movies and hearing dialogue or seeing a certain scene. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't see that before because I wasn't awake to it. Now that I am, I can't believe they actually had that in there. Kudos to them. But we're definitely going to do that. I'm going to talk to you off air about setting you up to bring you back on to do that. But touching back here to Bilderberg 2017, since no one wants to seem to talk about it, I know you've seen the list that they put out publicly on some of the issues that they're going to be discussing over the course of the next 3-4 days. I believe it wraps up Sunday there in Chantilly, Virginia. In your opinion, Wayne, and what you've seen in your years and all of this information and research, what do you think will come out of Bilderberg 2017? What do you think is going to come next and leading us into the G20 and Davos?
Well, basically, from what I've seen so far, as I've seen in the past, it's a reset. They've played their chess game for the last, year. I don't know where they were last year or year before, but their chess game is over because there's a new president. There's new people in governments around the world. We've got Merkel literally becoming Hitler. We've got A lot of stuff going on. Netanyahu is looking at the world going, we'll just stay over here, guys. We're fine. So the chess game is done. It's complete. Now it's a whole new chess game. They're resetting the pieces. And after Davos, which is a big money thing and just has a whole lot of other things going on, but mainly money, this whole thing is going to play out like it's played out for many, many years. They're going to find out who's willing to play the game, who's willing to step up to do what they want, and who's, willing to combat, basically, as I call it, peace, freedom, liberty, and security for the patriots around the world who don't like their government and who don't like tyranny.
Something that I see personally coming out of Bilderberg this year is going to be the more ramped up offense and defense when it pertains to North Korea. We know that the globalists love wars because the Rothschilds, and again, folks, if you're brand new to this, Google term Rothschild and follow along with us on this conversation here. Elite banking family, have been an elite banking family for many, many, many of years, decades, forever. They have played both sides of every war. They fund both sides of every war, even going back to America's own Civil War, folks. Yes, the Civil War was not fought the way you think it was fought, but that's a side issue for another time. But we know that the elite love wars because they profit from them. They get regime change, and they get what they ultimately want, and that's human sacrifice. Because what happens in war? People die. And in the Illuminati realm, in their beliefs and in their own spirituality, if you want to call it that, they enjoy the human sacrifices. It's a sacrifice to their God, to their deity, whatever the case may be. That's not my opinion. That's fact, folks. That's from them themselves, okay, in their own writings and in their own teachings. That they crave this shit. It's sick. I know it is, but it's the truth. So I see North Korea coming more into the limelight. I don't think North Korea is such a threat. I know that the little fat bastard dictator over there is no good, and North Korea hasn't been good in forever. I don't see them as a threat, but I do see them as a viable option for the next new war, and especially when you've got people like Mad Dog Mattis, over there in Trump's campaign, or not campaign, but cabinet. Somebody who's high up in the military there with the nickname of Mad Dog. Yeah, you've got some issues, and he's itching for war. McMaster, who's now the national security advisor under Trump, is attending Bilderberg. So I see something from North Korea coming on the horizon much more than it has been. Russia, not so much. Syria, not so much, at least not yet. I hope I'm wrong, but I think in North Korea, war of some sort, it might not be a full-on invasion, but, maybe some artillery being flown back and forth between the U.S. and North Korea might be on the horizon. What do you think about that, Wayne? And if not North Korea, what other major war do you see possibly on the horizon?
Well, like you said, I don't see so much in Russia because Putin's sitting back going, yeah, Hillary's a bitch and she's lying. But, yeah, North Korea is
Go ahead, Wayne. I'm just laughing at what you just said.
I figured I'd get a laugh out of you. I don't see so much like the Middle East anymore as far as Syria or any of that. I see Saudi Arabia still, knocking on our door saying, hey, accept our oil, and we're kind of giving them the middle finger with this pipeline going through North Dakota. But with North Korea, we've already sent ships out there, so is there going to be a war? Are we going to get into another, little skirmish like we did in Kuwait in the 90s, when Clinton was president, because he wanted war too? And but I see that one on the horizon. I see that one. I see that I see China is telling us to back off, and we're like, oh, screw you. We're going to do it anyway. Because we have warmongers in the White House. And like you said, Mad Dog Mattis, yeah, he likes war, I would say. It's like Schwarzkopf. Wouldn't he like that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're all one and the same. They're all cut from the same cloth. And you know how you bring up China. I remember a few years ago on my YouTube channel that I never promote because I hardly ever do videos anymore, but I encourage everybody who's listening to go to it, Distorted Reality NT on YouTube. I did a video talking about Fox News, excuse me, ran a piece saying that China now owns the United States debt and wants to bring about a new world order. Literally on Fox News. And I had to grab my camera. I had to record what was being said and then do my commentary afterwards. And that video is still up on my YouTube channel. But I mean, it's just more and more, it's like they don't care. You know, they put the information out, they put the truth out because they know majority of the time it's going to fall on deaf ears. But, you know, when you got people like Mad Dog Mattis, McMaster, even Trump himself, who has such a huge ego, and if, you know, Kim Jong fat ass there in North Korea even, you know, looks at Trump wrong in some sort of a speech, you know, Trump's ego is not going to let that go. And he'll retaliate in some way. When Trump was overseas doing his overseas tour of Saudi Arabia, which I'm not all for, going to Israel, I'm not all for, the list goes on and on. We saw him flip off the, I think it was the Ministry of Defense or the some sort of a foreign minister of France, flipping him off ever so slightly. The video's up on YouTube. I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty hilarious how Trump just flips him off and then, you know, gives a shit-eating grin like, yeah, I just did that. I loved how he shoved one of the other foreign leaders out of the way. Because the dude was, you know, blocking his spotlight. I like that because those people deserve it. Those people deserve to be shit on. So I agree with Trump on that. But, you know, with all these people surrounding him, just like we talked about the people surrounding Alex Jones, you know, the Trump insiders, it's not looking good. I wish I was wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But it's just not looking good that we are, you know, set for a new global war eventually. I mean, they talked about having a World War III for the longest time to finally usher in their full-on New World Order. We had the League of Nations after World War I. We had the United Nations after World War II. After WW3, it's going to be the full-on New World Order of Nations, folks. You can believe that. You can even go back and look at Albert Pike's writings from like 1871. You know, the highest ranking member at the time of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Morals and Dogma, his own writings, talking about the 3 world wars, and the first 2 happened exactly how he wrote them, and the 3rd World War looks to be exactly how he wrote. So we have all that to look forward to, unfortunately. We have all that to discuss, unfortunately, but this is the truth. This is what's happening, and it's healthy to have a debate about it. It's healthy to discuss it, because I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, Donald Trump is the president. Yes, he's going to make all these changes. Yes, he's an actual outsider, you know, and we finally got somebody who's an outsider in, you know, and everything else. And I have yet to be truly wowed or flabbergasted by Trump, because, again, if he was a true nationalist and a true outsider, how come he hasn't spoken out about Bilderberg? Now, I'm sure that he's been advised not to, but you know what? I think Trump is smart enough to say, you know what? You're fired, as he would love to, as he likes to say and as he loves to do. Tell your advisors, you know what? You're fired. And go out there, teleprompter free. Don't read no damn script that's been written for you. Go out there and speak to the American people and say, you know what? This Bilderberg group does exist. It's happening right now. McMaster's a part of it, and he's now out as the National Security Advisor. And people out there will say, he can't do that. That will never happen. Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. That won't happen. And I wish it would. That would show me a stronger evidence that Trump is an actual outsider and that Trump is somebody who wants to put America first, as he says. But allowing his security advisor to go to Bilderberg, allowing Bilderberg to take place in the United States, that's not putting America first. That's not showing, you know, populism and not globalism, or nationalism, not globalism. That doesn't show anything to me, Wayne. That just shows me that it's more of the same.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, well, my opinion from my perspective is, you're right. I mean, he should look at all of his advisors and say, if you're not for America first or behind me, you're done. Put your resignation on my desk right now. And then he should look at the people writing his speeches and say, you're fired. Go away. Go write for somebody else. I'm going to go teleprompter free. I know, you know, if I were president, I'm pretty sure, you know, you would agree with this. I would tell all of Congress, you know, the people put you here, so you shut up. The people tell you what to do. You're going to do it. The people put me here. I'm your boss. You're going to do what I tell you to do and what the people tell you to do, and screw all these other nations and the lobbyists and the special interest groups, because the lobbyists and special interest groups, as of right now, you're fired. Get the hell out of Washington, D.C. And I would go teleprompter free.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, we're not seeing that with Trump. He started off that way, but now he's kind of like settled into, being the same old, same old. I love how the Pope rides around in a bulletproof, I don't know what you would call it. It's an automobile with like a bulletproof glass case over him. And I always love the people who say, if somebody who's, so in touch with God and all this and that, why is he so afraid to go to heaven, to be killed, so to speak. But maybe Trump should do something like that. Maybe Trump should put himself in some sort of a bulletproof, bomb-proof glass case and start signing away executive orders to get rid of the Federal Reserve, to get rid of the IRS, to repeal the Act of 1871, to no longer have Washington, D.C. as the capital of the United States, get back on the gold standard, get away from the Federal Reserve printed fiat money. There's so many things that somebody who's true, somebody who's real can do. I don't think that would happen with a Rand Paul. I don't think that would have happened with a Ron Paul. It's a pipe dream. It's wishful thinking, I know. But I just don't see it. I don't see it yet, especially with Bilderberg here this year in the United States. I don't see Trump as anything different than any of the others that have come before him, Obama, Bush, Clinton. I just don't see it yet, and I'm waiting for the day, Wayne, where he proves me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It should be the President of the United States should, but he's not, should be the type of leader in a nation as we are in the United States, to go to the Bilderberg Group and just bust right into everything, into their huge meeting that they have, stand up behind a podium and go, and pardon my French for this, tell every one of those 130-plus leaders of those countries, fuck you, we're not listening to you anymore, and walk out and get in my car or get on Air Force One and go back to Washington, D.C.
Exactly. It's as simple as that. It's a shock to the system. It's a shock to people's core. I've seen some of the comments on YouTube on some of the videos that I mentioned earlier about Trump flipping off the France leader and shoving the other guy out of the way during his European trip. And people were just disgusted. Oh, that's not my president. That's not the way to be. You know what? We need a shock to the system. We need a shock to the mundane, to the same old shit. We need somebody out there that's not afraid to say what's true, to come out and say, you know what, folks, 9/11 was an inside job. Here's the proof. Hey, Sandy Hook looked a little suspicious to me, so let's do a full-on investigation about Sandy Hook. Somebody to just finally just do it. Just drive it home. And if that does entail, a big fuck you to the establishment, then so be it. Let's shock the core. Let's shock the system. Because until then, unfortunately, it's going to be the same old. And I'm, for one, tired of it, Wayne. I know you are. And I know there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who might not ever listen to this podcast that feel the exact same way that we do.
Exactly. And here... one of the things that I've seen since I've started broadcasting and just sharing all of the information I've known for so many years, and this goes back to 2010, I started broadcasting, and it's just, I look at everybody's comments, some of them, that are really positive and really cool, and I thank you, thank you those people for those positive comments. But I've seen some of the negative comments on certain videos that I've seen and certain broadcasts that I did in the past, and I'm going, are these people truly blind? Are they stupid? Are they both? Who knows? I mean, and some people, a friend of mine, you mentioned Sandy Hook, a friend of mine mentioned to me that she knows a couple who's, as she tells me, their child was, killed at Sandy Hook, and so they moved out of Newtown and all that. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's what they said. But did it really happen? Or did they get paid enough money to keep their mouth shut and to just go along with the official narrative? So there's that to consider, because in Aurora, Colorado, with James Holmes and with, Boston and with all of that, you look at all these staged events, like this whole thing with, and I believe, looking more into this Kathy Griffin thing, I think that was a staged event for publicity for her, and CNN fired her ass, so that's good. But I look at all around and it goes right back to Bilderberg. It goes right back to Chantilly. It goes right back to those people who say we've got to stage something to make it, so catastrophic for the system that will come in later and give them the solution. What's that sound like?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of things, and one thing that can come to mind is Stockholm Syndrome, and another thing that comes to mind is just being a sheep, just blindly following the path, get along with what's going on, because you don't want to be the outsider, you don't want to be the outcast, you don't want to be the person that's being ridiculed or being looked at in a weird different way. And and it's okay to question things, folks. It's okay to question the official story of 9/11. It's okay to question the official story of the beginnings of World War II, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the stand down that was issued there. A couple of quotes that come to mind from, again, my favorite comedian, George Carlin. One is, it's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Haha. And two, it's a big club, folks, and you ain't in it.
Exactly. It's amazing. And on my podcast, I always tell people, okay, you don't have to believe me. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm hopefully encouraging you to go out and check this stuff out on your own, and I know you do that too. You tell your listeners the same thing. And it really means that you need to just get rid of your preconceived ideas. Just unplug yourself from the official, indoctrination that they are doing to you. Just step away. Just unlearn what you've learned, and just get rid of all this bull crap, and just regroup and reset, and then look at everything from an objective point of view. You mentioned being objective at the beginning of the program. That's what people need to do, to really see everything for what it is, and not get caught up in just one thing. And I'm a Republican because my family was this, and I'm Mormon because my family was this, and I'm Democrat because my dad followed John F. Kennedy. And get away from all that bullshit, because that's what it is.
Exactly. You got to unplug yourself from the matrix. You have to get yourself out of the rabbit hole. You have to be on the outside looking in, as I am, as you are, Wayne. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to get sucked in one way or the other. You're either going to be on the left, you're going to be in the right, or you're going to be in the center, which is, the people who say, well, I'm with the Tea Party and I don't believe in either. Shut up. It's all one and the same, you dumbasses. It's completely unplug yourself, completely step away from all, as you said, the preconceived notions. Get yourself out of the box and look at the real world around you. Look at everything in a different light. And once you do so, once you understand that you have been lied to your entire life, as I always say, it's a shock to your system, as I was talking about earlier, but it's a good shock, because now you're saying to yourself, you know what, I have been lied to. I don't like being lied to. I was played like a fool. And now it's time for me to do my part. Now it's time for me to do the real research, to do the real questioning that they tell us that we can't do, and finally say, you know what, fuck you to the NWO, fuck you to the Rockefellers, to the Clintons, to the Sanders, to everybody who's involved in this New World Order agenda. Because at the end of the day, folks, they don't care about you and I. They really don't. If they did, they wouldn't be putting fluoride in the water. They wouldn't be telling us that GMOs are good. They wouldn't be polluting the air with chemtrails. They wouldn't be doing any of this stuff, folks. They wouldn't charge us debt for us to use printed fiat money printed by the Federal Private Reserve to use in our own country, and then in turn charge us debt on the dollar that we just used. I mean, it's an asinine, backward system designed to be that way to keep us all enslaved. People say, slavery this and slavery that. Folks, we're still in bondage. We're still in slavery. We're slaves to the system. And until you understand how the system really works, you're doing nothing to change. You're doing nothing for the cause, the true cause. All you're doing is playing the part that they want you to play, to regurgitate the same talking points that the mainstream is putting out, that's written for them by the people that are at Bilderberg, by the way. It's a sickening process. It's a sickening game. And unfortunately, it's more of the same with Trump as it stands right now, because he's doing really nothing other than the Paris Accord. Okay, that's great. TPP, okay, that's great. But we need more. You talk about being a realist. You talk about being somebody who is for nationalism. Well, then show me. Show me not just two things of TPP and the Paris Accord. Show me other things. Talk about Bilderberg. Talk about the New World Order. Talk about something that is of sustenance, that is true, that is out in the open in front of everybody, in hidden in plain sight. The occult, all of it. Bohemian Grove. Just give me something real for once, Mr. President.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, I don't always agree with President Trump or Alex Jones or I look at everything and I see things for what they are and for what they're saying, and I read the things that they talk about to have my own conclusion on it. And none of the presidents were perfect. They had their errors. They did things that were backwards. I mean, Ronald Reagan, what did he do? Oh, we're not going to raise taxes. He raised his taxes. Oh, we're not going to have, illegal immigrants in the country. He signs a thing that gives 11 million or more illegal aliens citizenship. I mean, what the hell? And he wasn't perfect. And even his Hollywood friends said that he was, I'll put it out here. His Hollywood friends, when he was acting in Hollywood, said he was bisexual. So, he wasn't perfect, And so Clinton, same way, same thing. Clinton, Mena, Arkansas. That's all I got to say about that one. But then you had George Bush, the King Bush the First. You had him talking about 1,000 points of light and a new world order and all of that. And then you had, you had Clinton after him, and then you had all that, and then you had George Bush II, up there doing his thing, and mission accomplished. No, it wasn't, jackass. And it goes on and on and on. Then you had Barack Obama, who said a lot of great things. Wonderful orator. All of a sudden, he turns around and doubles the national debt from George Washington to George Bush. It was at $6 trillion or something dollars of debt, and then he doubles that, and it is now almost $20 trillion when he's out of office. So what kind of bullcrap is that?
Yep, I completely agree with you. And to quote the King Bush the First in his famous speech to Congress, it's a big idea. It's a new world order. And we need it. Well, shut the hell up and go away, all of you, for once. It's just like, enough is enough already. And Mr. President, Mr. CEO, Mr. Donald J. Trump, give me something real, bro. Do something that will make me believe that you are, in fact, a true outsider. And not have people like Roger Stone, who's been a political insider for a very long time. And yes, I did watch his documentary, Get Me Roger Stone, on Netflix. Thought it was all right. Kind of made Roger look like more of a weasel than what he is. And I really don't have anything against Roger. It's just he plays a political game. And we don't need to play the political game anymore, folks, because it's fake. I can't remember who said it. It doesn't matter if you don't take an interest in politics. Politics takes an interest in you. And that's true.
Yeah.
And yes, politics is boring to a certain extent. And yes, politics isn't for everyone. I don't consider this a political show because I don't really, focus primarily on political issues, because you can get that everywhere else. What you're going to hear here is, unfiltered, uncensored truth and facts and information on the Illuminati, on the New World Order, on the Freemasons, on Bohemian Grove, on everything. That's what you're going to hear on this podcast. That's what you're going to hear on Wayne S. Pierce's show on American Liberty Radio. That's what you're going to get from us. You're not going to get the same regurgitated bullshit talking points that everybody else is talking about. This is... forget politics. Politics aside, let's talk about the true nature of things. Let's talk about the true matrix, the true rabbit hole that we are in. You know, let's wipe away this imaginary debt, this debt that's just made up out of thin air to have us all in servitude, to continue to be in servitude. You know, Wayne, putting bookends on this episode here, Bilderberg 2017, Kathy Griffin staged event. We didn't really get into the terrorist attack that happened tragically in the United Kingdom last week at the Ariana Grande concert. You know, over 20 innocent people killed, including children. It's disgusting. It's horrific. And again, that's what you have when you have open borders and you don't vet quote-unquote refugees from war-torn countries. And yes, I do agree we should stop bombing their countries. Yes, I do agree that, you know, half of the problem of why these people are radicalized is because of countries such as the U.S., Israel, the United Kingdom going in and blowing the shit out of their country to go about regime change, to put in their puppet leaders to do the New World Order's bidding. I understand that. I agree with that. But at the end of the day, let's stop arming and funding these terrorists, Al-Qaeda, the Mujahideen that came before Al-Qaeda, that is now ISIS. Let's stop funding them, as Obama did, as Bush did, as they all did. Hillary Clinton admits that they funded and armed the Mujahideen to help fight the Soviet Union, folks, and that turned into Al-Qaeda. So she is admitting that they helped create what we now see as modern-day ISIS, folks. So... you know, it's so much to take in, and you know, in an hour and a half that we have talked here on this edition of the podcast, you know, we've covered a lot. We went in a lot of different directions and a lot of different angles, as we always do, and that's good because that shows that we're not scripted. But at the end of the day, folks, you know, stop being dumbasses and saying, you know, I'm non-binary, which means that I don't identify as male or female. Let's stop with the bullshit of, hey, you know, it's not the terrorists' fault that they blew up, a suicide bomb outside of a popular, you know, teeny bopper concert, and, you know, children ended up dying. It's not their fault. We should just all come together and have open borders everywhere. I mean, the lunacy of all this, folks, is what I'm getting at. Let's get serious. Let's get real. Let's get educated for once, and stop listening to the Katy Perrys and the Ariana Grandes and the rest of them out there that say, you know, oh, if you want to vet Muslims or any other, you know, foreign people coming from, you know, bad places, that's racist. You know, you shouldn't do that. You should just allow them all in. Yeah, well, how's that working out in places like Sweden, Germany, and the United Kingdom? Wayne, your final tidbits, your final saying here on this edition of this podcast before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I just the bottom line is, in all of this, the discussions are great. We love to discuss this, to find different angles on certain things and try to find and identify those people committing these criminal acts against humanity. We need to identify them. We discuss them, you know, Bilderberg Group, Bohemian Grove, you know, all these people. And we have to do that. It is a duty and a responsibility for independent and alternative media to identify these people and not just brush it away and brush it aside for, you know, popularity's sake, because you're selling stuff on your website. That just doesn't make any sense to me. We need to identify these people and bring them to light and bring them, you know, and make it talking points even in the mainstream propaganda media, because sooner or later, the more pressure you put on them, the more they'll start discussing these things that are behind the scenes, because, well, they have to. But, of course, in a limited fashion, you know, not like us. But so anyway, that's one thing. The other thing is that we have to understand that, yes, there are countries out there that are shitholes, and those people are trying to come over here. Well, how's that working out for Venezuela? How's that working out for other countries where even in England, in London, they're having, you know, these migrants raping young children and you know, all of that. How's that working out for them? Here's my solution. This is my solution, like it's ever going to happen. It's never going to happen. That we need ships in the Atlantic, ships in the Pacific. We need the military on the north and south border. And we need every single law-abiding citizen in America carrying a weapon to protect ourselves from the jackasses that are creating tyranny coming out of Washington, D.C. Now, if that's not dropping a bomb in the middle of all this, intellectually speaking, and shaking up the establishment, I don't know what is.
I agree with you, and very well said. We do need to take accountability and get back to what's real and understand the threat, and just take responsibility for it for once, and let's admit our problems, and let's go steadfast and correct those problems. And first thing we should do is get rid of ISIS. But hey, that might not even happen. Wayne, American Liberty Radio, tell folks out there who are listening one last time how they can find out about your podcast and your live shows and everything that's going on with American Liberty Radio.
You can go to the website at AmericanLibertyRadio.com. That is the website. You can go to Spreaker.com and look at American Liberty Radio. You look that up. I'm on Twitter at Real Pierce. You can catch me there. I've got to start putting more tweets out for you folks. There's all sorts of ways to get a hold of me. I just can't think of it right now because I got so much on my mind. I may want to go do a mini podcast after this. AmericanLibertyRadio.com is the website. Go there, check it out. Email me from there as well. Facebook, that's the one. American Liberty Radio Network is on Facebook. Check that out. Drop me a note there if you'd like, and that's how you can get a hold of me.
I love it, Wayne. I love having you on. It's always a great time. The time always flies, an hour and a half into this thing, and I don't know where the hell the time went, but that's good because that shows that we know what we're talking about, and I always get you fired up. You always get me fired up, and this wouldn't be the first time that you've hung up with me and went off and did another live show or recorded show of your own. So I take credit in that selfishly. But Wayne, my friend, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I love having you on, man. And the next time you will be on, we will be talking about the Illuminati in Hollywood and Hollywood in the Illuminati. So Wayne, thank you very much, my friend, for coming on, and I can't wait for the next show.
Okay, thanks.
Well, folks, there goes Mr. Wayne S. Pierce, American Liberty Radio. He just gave you all of his links. Do yourself a favor. Go check him out. Go check out his live show. Go check out his podcast. Check out his Facebook. Check out his Twitter. And while you do that, feel free to check out my stuff as well. DistortedReality.podbean.com. Subscribe for free. Download for free. Share for free. Everything's for free, folks. I don't charge you one damn thing. Facebook, Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on Facebook while I'm still there. I forgot to mention earlier, Gab.ai, Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on Gab.ai. Twitter, at DIST Reality NT on Twitter. You can follow me there. And until next time, folks, take care. Thank you very much for listening to the show. Hopefully you found it informative. And if you're the first-time listener, hopefully you'll come back. Because the next time that we have Mr. Wayne S. Pierce on the show, we will be talking about the Illuminati in Hollywood. So, folks, with that being said, signing off for this Friday, June the 2nd, 2017 edition of Distorted Reality, I am your host, Nick Tucker. Take care and good night.